Every hobby has these, and they are a problem for the growth of a hobby. These are gatekeepers. Let's learn how to not be a gatekeeper in model railroading. Hey everybody, my name's Jimmy. Welcome to Coffee and Trains. Today I'm just drinking some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. If you want to tell me what kind of coffee you are drinking and have it featured just like these guys right here, you can leave that in the comments below. Also, I invite you to check out my new channel, Jimmy's Trains. I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. Cheers, guys. Before we talk about how to not be a gatekeeper, let's define what a gatekeeper in model railroading is. Gatekeeping is, in this case, defined as setting a standard or limit on what someone must do to call themselves a member of a community. In model railroading, this comes out in a few different ways. The first and most common gatekeeping is with locomotives and rolling stock. Many manufacturers have many different tiers of equipment. This is typically divided up by level of detail, but with locomotives it can be divided into features such as DCC and sound. The second is layout material. This can be track, scenery, and other accessories. The third is how you design and run your railroad. This can be how a track plan is done and how you operate your railroad. Now, to understand these gatekeeping points, we have to understand the stages of model railroading, and I've broken it up into 3 stages: the exploratory phase, the improvement phase, and the capstone phase. The exploratory phase is the beginning phase. This is where people purchase starter sets and just begin with basic track design and scenery, as well as low-cost rolling stock. They're learning the ropes. This is the most important phase of a model railroader's journey in the hobby. It's a make or break phase. If they want to advance in the hobby, they're going to need to learn and ask questions. Gatekeeping here can kill the interest someone has in model railroading. Gatekeeper activity in this phase is mainly non-constructive criticism. Those cars won't run together. That engine wouldn't be doing that. That track plan is bad. Your scenery is terrible. We forget what it's like to be a beginner in this hobby. For those just starting out, they're not going to know the techniques we take for granted. They're not going to know that a Santa Fe F unit and a Union Pacific SD70 probably will not run together in a prototypical situation, or that a 40-foot USRA boxcar and a modern well car don't typically run on the same train. If somebody asks the question for a critique, then answer in a constructive manner. Otherwise, keep your opinions to yourself. People are just figuring out what they like, and you want to be helpful to them. The improvement phase is a bit better in terms of gatekeeping. A modeler in this stage is looking to improve their railroad, so constructive criticism is invited more often. This is where you want to share your techniques and your experiences more freely. Criticism can be tougher because it is invited more, but should always be kind, tactful, and constructive. Now, most model railroaders live in this phase. I know I do. But there is another phase that I call the capstone phase. Note that I didn't say advanced phase. The capstone phase is where you are happy with where you are in the hobby. The rule of only giving criticism when asked applies here. But you may be at the point where you give criticism versus giving it. So listen and abide by the rules of the exploratory phase and help people enjoy the hobby as much as you do. You are an ambassador for the hobby to someone in earlier phases. So make sure that you act like it. The overall way to not be a gatekeeper is to encourage and only offer constructive criticism when it is asked for. This will continue the hobby's growth. One thing to note, online forums can be a great place for information. I know I've gotten plenty of answers there, but they can also be a breeding ground for gatekeeping and toxicity. So take anything negative there with a grain of salt. And if you are offering advice, remember that text is tone deaf. You may think you're being funny when in fact you're hurting someone as well as the hobby. Together, we can keep the world's greatest hobby a kind and family-friendly place. Thank you all so much for watching. I talked about my new YouTube channel, Jimmy's Trains, where I'm just running trains on the layout. Just a nice thing to have on, just to watch some trains run, nothing complicated. I know that I really enjoy watching these videos, so I decided to start making some of my own. Definitely check that out. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.